Good evening, and welcome. If you're new, welcome back. If you're a subscriber, special thanks to all of my patrons. My name's Neil, and it's time for another episode of QI. This is another viewer request, guys. This is from Series H, Episode 15, and it's called Hypnosis, Hallucinations, and Hysteria. Now, I don't know who the guests are on this episode, but I do know it was recommended to me by a patron, and you guys have not yet let me down with your recommendations. They are strong, they are on point, and they are invariably funny. Now, granted, I haven't yet come across an episode of QI, period, that hasn't left me smiling, laughing, having an amazing time. So I have a funny feeling I could pick any random episode and have a wonderful time watching it. But I love your recommendations. They are special. They are a lot of fun, and I'd love to hear your requests for future episodes down below. This is the XL version for those of you playing along at home. I'll leave a link to the video in the description down below. And with that, let's jump into it. This is episode 15 from Series H of QI.
Welcome to a QI that's all about hypnosis, hallucinations, and hysteria. And with me tonight are the hypnotic Ronni and Ancona.
Do I know her?
The hysterical Webb.
I'm not sure I know him either.
The histrionic Phill Jupitus.
We know Phil. Okay, cool.
And His Majesty Davies.
These screens are trippy.
You are feeling sleepy. Very sleepy. Your eyelids are heavy.
If I hypnotized you, but then cut off your leg, how much fuss would you make?
If you'd gone in to stop smoking, I'd be a bit miffed, really.
That's a very good point. Assuming...
They've never used hypnosis as an anaesthetic, have they? Well, surely that would give you screaming in agony.
Oddly enough, no. It was used before ether in the 1830s, very commonly.
Really?
Most of the discomfort we feel, even in an operation like sawing off a leg, is the anxiety of pain. If you can relieve yourself of the anxiety, enormous amount of the pain goes.
I have a really hard time believing that.
I think if I was going in for surgery, I'd feel quite anxious when I saw the man in the top hat with the crazy eyebrows.
In the 1830s, there was a Scottish doctor who did a lot of operations in India, where there's a really unpleasant disease called filariasis, and it causes hydroceles of the scrotum. Now, anything scrotal, you might say, is a worry. But
Makes your scrotum go into a triangle.
No, that would be
isosceles scrotum.
This is hydroceles.
And he never ate dairy again.
And the operation was so uncomfortable, people would go for years not daring to go to a doctor. But this meant the tumours grew, 46 kilograms. People, literally, there was a case of a man who was using his scrotum as a writing desk.
That's a good attitude.
It's a good attitude, you're right.
Yeah, I would get a Sharpie and I would paint the face off the front of a space hopper on mine.
I'd make it look like a hedgehog. Winking.
Before ether or chloroform. So this Scottish doctor, whose name was Esdale, he would put them under, and it worked.
Your eyes are feeling heavy. Not as heavy as my testicles, doctor.
Well, the Indians have Scottish accents, do they?
Yeah, the fact is pain is created by the brain. It's not a real thing.
It's just information, isn't it?
It's bloody
still
sore
doesn't.
information.
I tried to be hypnotised to stop smoking once, and he was such a nice man, and it so wasn't going anywhere, I faked it.
Did it work? Do you smoke? Have you given up?
No, it didn't. I did give up, but with prescription drugs, not with...
Superb. What's the best way to hypnotise either A, an alligator, B, a tiger shark, or C, a chicken?
I've seen them do it to sharks.
And what do they do?
Don't they lie them on their backs or something?
Exactly right.
Yeah.
You flip it over.
But I thought that if sharks have to keep moving in order to survive...
Which is why whales have learnt to tip them over in order to make them suffocate, and that actually will kill them. There's a very small hammerhead shark being
That is a toy shark.
It's a toy shark.
That's a baby shark.
Or a really big diver.
Frighteningly.
I think we'd have heard of him. I think I know how you do chickens.
Yes.
It's weird because you have to hold them to the ground and draw a line.
Yes. You draw a line from their beak along, and they just stare at it.
Is that a thing, really? You can tell I'm not a farmer.
There's another way of doing it with chickens. Apparently, you take a stick or a paddle. In this case, is a light flagellation paddle I happen to have in the house. You fix eyes to it and you hold it up to it, and it will apparently stare at it forever. Though our producer tried it on his. We're the kind of show whose producers have
Chickens. Yes.
That's how cool we are. And he says it didn't work at all. They just went off to eat things. But
You just made that up, didn't you?
no, it is in all the books.
It's in all the books, therefore it must be true.
All of the books. Well, all of the chicken hypnotising
Yes.
books.
Which is why you can't ever let your chickens watch the Muppets.
Rabbits and guinea pigs will do the same thing if you stroke them or roll them over a few times first. Do you know how you wake them up, rabbits and guinea pigs, if they're in that state? How you
You let them
Shriek at them.
that might be doing. The kind of way is to blow on their nose.
Blow on their nose.
Yeah, little blow on the nose will do it. What have I hypnotised? Do you know?
Hugh Laurie.
No. A lobster. We have a lobster in here. There we are. There it is. Now, how did I do this?
Then you can, like, stand them on their heads and immobilize them, can't you?
You stroke him here. That's it. He goes completely still. But there he is. He's completely still.
Yeah, but...
He's not moving a muscle.
Yeah, but...
Do you do that?
A muscle. And if I lift him up, his tail will come up usually, and he'll wake up.
Or you've killed him.
He's all right. He's still asleep.
No.
Anyway, there we are.
You cooked
He's
him.
now under there.
Under the hot studio lights.
So, dinner's sorted.
You truly are a Renaissance man.
I wear tights, put it that way. Can animals hypnotise humans? There was a dog, Oscar the Hypno Dog.
I'm feeling
Yeah.
it. I'm feeling it now. I'll go and get the biscuits.
He could keep up that stare into a human's eyes for a very long time. And he's he did go missing in Edinburgh. A reward was posted for his return, although members of the public were warned not to look into his eyes. Does that sound like a publicity stunt to try and get tickets at Edinburgh?
Of course it does.
No dog is loose. Don't look at him. Don't look at him.
It's Oscar the Hypno Dog. I'm not the dog you're looking for. I'm a Pomeranian.
Snakes, they're said to be able to sort of freeze a rabbit by staring at them.
They're very gullible rabbits, aren't they?
Aren't they?
Oh,
They'll
please.
believe anything you tell them.
Grumpy rabbits.
I like those big
Violent.
Dutch ones that you can ride.
Oh, they're giant lops. Yeah.
They're massive.
Yeah.
OK, maybe not ride.
Yeah.
That is a rabbit costume.
A Dutchman wearing a rabbit costume. OK, I am wearing a shovel and it's time to go.
I love rabbits.
Oh, my.
Wow, I am thinking maybe I should have had a smaller celebrity.
Oh, he's got a good Dutch accent. Oh.
So, you're at death's door. Why is your whole life flashing before your eyes? Admiral Beaufort, who gave us the Beaufort scale...
And the Beaufort Sea.
yeah, he had a narrow escape from drowning in Portsmouth Harbour in 1795. He saw everything. Thus, travelling backwards, every past incident of my life seemed to glance across my recollection in retrograde succession, in minutest detail. So why would we think this happens?
Is it just some sort of panic response? It's just like the brain just downloads everything.
It's doing your best bits.
Doing your best... Well, the
Maybe
montage...
it's your brain trying to find a piece of your life that can help you in your present situation.
Very good, Ronnie. That is the current and most convincing theory. It plays back all the incidents of your life to find a match, as it were. There was a recent case of a man who was attacked by a great white shark, and he remembered a DVD his son had been watching years before in which someone said, you know, if the shark comes, plunge your hands into the gills. And he did that, and he saved
It's
himself.
quite risky, though, isn't it? If you're in a... If you're,
Sticking
you're
your hands in a great white
and
shark's
you're
gills.
running, and you're like, no, not my dad's 70th birthday.
With what seems to be uncanny instinct, you say, we need to do this. But the point is, when you're dying and you're drowning, there is nothing. And so your brain just, as you say, dumps everything. It tries every scenario that seems mismatched. If you lose your keys, just put your face down in the basin and start drowning yourself until you get to the point where you last had them. Would that work?
Do you think with rising crime that death's door has become more security conscious? Do you think...
Well, we used to be able to leave death's doors open, but now we have kids coming in, nicking bodies, trinkets...
You see people sitting forlornly on Death Avenue saying, I put the wrong number in 3 times, I've got to wait an hour. Maybe it's hypnotherapy you need. So, why not consult Zoe D. Katz, PhD, CHD, DAPA? I mean, that's a pretty good series of...
I don't know... Is it Zoe the cat?
She is an animal hypnotherapist. She's a cat.
Aye?
With a PhD, a CHT, and that diploma. It's a man called Steve Eichel, who is an academic, who wanted to demonstrate the ease with which you can get a doctorate online, or any of these professional hypnotherapy association qualifications, all of which were given to a cat.
Oh, great.
So do be on the lookout, gentlemen, and ladies, when you go to see them. If you can get a cat.
It's terrible. My cat's only got a BA.
There are also what are called diploma mills and degree mills.
There's also kitty mills.
I like to think that underneath that photo there's about 60 cats. If you were a cat and you went... Because of the tassels, you wouldn't leave them alone, would you?
You so
Phil
wouldn't.
and Alan are good together.
You get letters from the American Biographers Association. You have been selected as one of the Men of the Year.
Oh, don't.
If you would send $695, we'll send you a plaque. I've got 12.
He found energy therapist qualifications easily got, past life regression therapist, and alien abduction therapist.
Of course.
It's just sad.
Oh, no, yeah, I want
Do that course.
Yeah,
of course.
I'm going to get a guinea pig and make it an alien abduction therapy.
Show me where they probed you. How can we persuade the audience to elect me Pope without them noticing that we've done it? That's odd. That's wrong.
Some sort of mass suggestion.
Subliminal advertising.
Subliminal advertising.
Nope.
Although it's banned by most broadcasting authorities or FCC in America and things like that, it's not actually ever been shown to work.
To do anything. Interesting.
Obviously, the eye doesn't consciously register it.
That was more than one frame.
But it just hasn't been shown to work.
That might have been 2.
What about audio subliminal messages? Do we know any stories of any famous...
Oh,
The records that play backwards.
Backward masking, they call it.
Yes.
Which is, you know, satanic messages.
Judas Priest there was 2 boys who committed suicide. It said,
Do it now. And so Halford, as part of the court case, Halford went in with a load of records, played them backwards, and then just read out a list of things that you could hear.
He also said, do it doesn't mean kill yourself.
Stephen, the song was called Suicide Solution.
Oh, was it? Yeah. Oh.
Oops.
Finally, being in a pop quiz pays off!
Students have lectures on tapes and they put them under the pillow while you're asleep.
Yes.
Learning by
Hypnopedia,
osmosis.
it's called. Which I know sounds...
We thought we found one of them hypnophiles.
Frankly, there's no real evidence that it works in terms of what's being taught. But if you sell someone classical music and say, contains subliminal music that will increase your self-confidence, it is shown that that will work, even if it's just the music.
So it's just a placebo effect?
If you want to wake up at 4, you bang your head 4 times on the pillow before you
What?
go to
Or
sleep.
you have a child.
I know it sounds mad, but they always seem to... Yeah.
What?
It's just the power of suggestion. This is the thing, isn't it?
Other subliminal images have been seen. Lenin, for example, was seen by some in the Labour Party rows. I don't know if you can...
Oh.
There. There's a sort of...
That's a stretch. That's a real stretch.
So, yes, subliminal advertising doesn't, Stephen Fry for Pope, work. What kind of behaviour would you expect from a superstitious pigeon? American psychiatrist from Harvard called B.F. Skinner.
Yeah.
He found
heard
that
of
if you
Skinner.
feed pigeons at predetermined intervals, the pigeons, because they can't quite predict when the food is coming, they seem to register what they were doing at the time the food arrived and repeat the action to make the food come next time. Maybe twice they were walking anti-clockwise and the food arrived. And they make the leap that must be why the food comes. People do it all the time.
People do it all the time.
Yeah.
It's called magical thinking, where you think you're having an effect on the world.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And you're not.
You're not.
It's whenever I wear this hat, the Seahawks win. Not this year, but in the past.
It's almost like a form of megalomania, isn't it? In
It
a
is.
bizarre sort of way.
That we
It's
can
like a
possibly
sort of-
affect the outcome.
Yeah.
But, I mean, that's the nature of superstition. And, of course, for each religion, we'll regard other religions as superstition and theirs as not being. I am religious, you are superstitious. In the Catholic Church, it is a sin to be superstitious.
You'll change
the
that
place-
when you're Pope.
Oh, no, stop. Don't want to offend people.
And as Pope Stephen walks out onto the balcony, underneath a ladder
With a grenade.
with several black cats.
Now, what's hysterical about wandering womb trouble?
That's Janet Leigh in Psycho.
It certainly is.
Yeah. But hyster applies to the uterus, am I right? So, because a hysterectomy is the removal of the uterus.
I think this is something to do with like hysterectomy and
Yeah. The Greek word for uterus is hystera. So the word hysteria.
yes, it was Hippocrates also that,
Yeah.
that thought that there was a correlation between mental unbalance and
Yeah, but it was also a strictly
coming,
female
wandering around the body.
I thought the
reaction.
womb literally like an animal moved around the female body.
Oh, really?
I know because I've got a very good friend who's a gynecologist.
That is how the word hysteria came about. It was associated entirely with women.
She's hysterical, slap her.
Yes, slap her. That was the attitude. But it was Freud who said that almost for every real condition you might have, you could have a hysterical version which was created by the mind, but it was as real. It wasn't feigned. There is such a thing as hysterical blindness and muteness. People will lose the ability to see.
Yep. There's an episode in Band of Brothers about that.
So, what about Hitler?
What about Hitler?
He was hysterical.
Leave Hitler alone.
No, in the First World War, after a gas attack, he apparently went blind and dumb for some time.
God, that was close.
It was in hospital during that course that he had the vision that he would lead Germany to greatness, unfortunately.
Don't listen to visions when you've just had a gas attack.
Yeah.
Would it be terrible if that was actually an evil Labrador like Oscar and it had just said, "You will rule the world"?
And now a question which will test your reflexes. Watch the film here of the setting sun. All I want you to do is hit your buzzer at the moment the sun has dropped below the horizon. Speed it up, obviously.
Now.
My lids are heavy.
It was you got there first, Phil?
Yeah, there's an optical effect there.
Well too late. Well too late. That is the moment at which
Oh,
the sun
that
is
far
below
up.
the horizon.
Okay.
What we see is a mirage. I know it sounds crazy, but it's true. You're looking at me and you're saying, Stephen, it is genuinely below the horizon. Physically, in other words, the Earth has turned such that it is not there. I know, you're looking very that can't be true about it.
But that's a film of it, though. So,
Not dissimilar to the image of your legs when you sit in a swimming pool. The effect is to artificially raise the sun in the last few minutes of its decline. And by coincidence, the amount of bending is pretty much equal to the diameter of the sun.
Okay. Well, that's good to know.
I hate this show. Sun is there. You're like, no. It's the sun.
No.
There.
Not
They're wrong.
Puddles of shimmering lakes of water, which are not there. You must have seen those in the roads.
Not in
Yeah, but I
England.
grew up in Scotland, and they are there.
Fair enough.
Those are real big
in New
puddles.
Zealand, you get sunstrike, quite bad sunstrike off the roads, causes accidents.
I dare say that the drivers in New Zealand, as they see the sun setting, are reassured to know
The sun's not there.
that it's not there.
That the setting sun is actually below the horizon at the moment that its lower edge seems to touch the sea. And so, what shape is this staircase?
My leads are hay.
Yes, Phil.
It's not there.
Now, Phil.
It's, someone's going to say spiral, and that's going to be wrong.
Spiral.
Oh!
Yeah.
Is it a helix?
Yes, it's helical. Well done. So, what's that?
A double helix.
Double helix.
A double helix, exactly.
That
I'm
is
afraid.
a hypno-labrador.
If it was all stretched out, how far would it reach?
Is it something mega, like to the moon and back?
It's so much more mega. A tenth of a light year outside the solar system. 50 trillion cells, 23 chromosomes per cell, 220 million base pairs per chromosome. Do you know about the Argentine bluebill or lake duck? It has a part of its body that is corkscrew-shaped.
Yeah, the penis.
God, is it going to be its neck?
It's not going to be its neck.
Its legs?
Nor its
No,
legs.
ducks have
Its penis, yes.
helical pinnacles.
If push comes to shove and you're in Argentina with a bottle of Merlot, you get your wine out and you get a pleasured duck.
I only say pleasuring in your mind,
Well, this is corked.
Yes. Not only does it have a corkscrew, it has the longest penis relative to its body size of any vertebrate. It's the length of its whole body.
Do you know that, or did the duck tell
What
you?
about the earwig? Hasn't the earwig got a penis?
But the
vertebrae.
earwig doesn't have a brush at the end of its penis like that animal does.
A brush?
What do you think the brush is for?
Brushing the feathers out the way of the lady ducks do,
No, it's probably about clearing enemy sperm or something like that.
Though the brush is to remove any sperm from a previous drake that may have been there.
No, stop
So you
it.
clean out, the previous sperm, so it's yours.
Spring clean.
Even weirder is that the lady duck, her vagina is corkscrewed, but it's corkscrewed in the opposite way.
Oh, what a nightmare!
Oh, you get cross-threaded.
And you know the other thing, Stephen? Male duck's imperial, lady duck's metric.
Ridiculous. There you are, nature. So
Jupitus is melting down.
So, why are there so many lavatories in the Pentagon? Where is it?
Virginia.
Virginia. Virginia,
Oh.
southern state.
Were there colored washrooms?
And there's laws.
no, racial segregation.
Segregation. It was a law. So there were double the number. I'm afraid it's true. It's a horrible truth.
Well, it's not very PC, that's true, but have you ever been for a queue in the ladies' loo?
So it's nice for you that there are so many.
Yes, in a way.
You
but
racist.
No.
No. 17 and a half miles of corridor, 6 separate zip codes. But apparently it takes only 7 minutes to walk from one place to another.
Only one cleaner they have.
Racial segregation in Britain, did it ever happen in the Second World War?
It must have.
I assume yes, judging by that.
But for one reason and one reason only.
Because of the Americans.
Because of the Americans. The Americans in the bases who would use pubs insisted that they have pubs for whites and blacks only, and the British publicans said, well, no, we're not going to do that. And the white Americans would come in and see black people there and start fights, and the British would fight with the blacks against we just thought it was intolerable.
And they would prepare GIs that the British
would invite black people.
Yes.
Yes, preparing them for the horrors of tea.
Wow.
Name something invented by Vyacheslav Molotov.
Not the cocktail. Not the cocktail.
Molotov cocktail?
It was named after him.
He invented the slow, comfortable screw against the wall.
He was a Bolshevik. He was the foreign minister under Stalin and under all the way. He lived till 1986.
Very exciting job.
Can't imagine. Absolutely.
Every day. What are we going to do today? I don't know. He hasn't woken up yet.
The fact is, he claimed his country in the war against Finland was dropping food parcels when, in fact, it was dropping cluster bombs. So the Finns called them Molotov's breadbasket. And when they fought against the Soviet tanks, don't forget, the Finns beat the Russians. It was quite an amazing war. They used petrol bombs, and they said, you know, these are Molotov cocktails to go with the bread you're giving it.
Ah, there you go. Russia hasn't exactly beaten a lot of countries in war. They lost to
in fourth place,
Japan in the
with minus
Sino-Japanese
32.
War. They lost to the Finns. I mean, they were good at beating the Germans back. Don't get me wrong. They didn't do great in
third
Afghanistan.
place with -17, Ronni Ancona.
I wonder how they'll do in the Ukraine soon. Yikes.
Second place, Alan Davies with -8. Our runaway winner, our solar skeptic, with -2, Phill Jupitus.
It's not there.
You will tune in again next week. You will. Good night.
Stephen Fry for Pope. Apologies for going off on a little bit of a tangent there, but this whole show is all about tangents, isn't it? You just talk about one thing and it makes you think of something else, which makes you think of something else, and suddenly you're talking about Russia's track record of wars in the 20th century. This one was fun. I don't think I know either of the two contestants on the right side of our screen, but I'm certainly familiar with Phill. I feel like I genuinely learned some really interesting stuff in this one. I feel like this is exactly the kind of trivia that sticks with me for a long, long time. And I may not remember I learned it on QI, but I'll remember it at a dinner party in 20 years. And just like, they'll go, how did you know that? And I'm like, I don't know, but it's in there because of shows like this. Because this stuff's like genuinely interesting. I'm disappointed that there isn't something like this that I got to grow up with, that I've only just discovered it this late in my life, because I'd be all over stuff like this in my earlier years too. I'd love to know what episode you'd like to see me react to next, so please leave comments down below. I will eventually get to them all. If someone else has suggested something that you'd like, by all means hit like to their comment too, so I know which ones are like I really ought to get to. Until next time, everybody. Take care, stay healthy, and we'll see you soon. Cheers.